Hello everyone, good afternoon. Welcome to Carrow Road. Welcome to a live broadcast of my video verdict. It's the first time I've done one of these for a little while, obviously, so thought I would return back to basics. For this. No hot takes, by the way, today. Doesn't really feel like the time or place to be doing hot takes. There's little hot about anything around Norwich City at the moment. So yes, Norwich City have lost today, 1-0 to Sheffield United. Really big day for Sheffield United. I feel like today is the day they took a seismic step towards Premier League promotion. I think the supporters kind of felt that as well because they were singing as much by the end. They were done a huge favour by Neil Warnock, who's of course the manager of Huddersfield. In my view, one of the worst Championship teams I'd seen a couple of weeks ago when they somehow scraped a draw without a shot on target against Norwich. Since then, they've beaten Millwall at Millwall, and they've hammered. Well, no, they didn't hammer them, but I think it's 4-2. Did it finish at home to Middlesbrough? So yeah, obviously Neil Warnock getting a tune out of that team, and maybe they'll stay up, which would be some achievement because they did really look terrible against Norwich. But such is the life of trying to cover and follow football. Not all of it always makes sense. And in fairness to Sheffield United, I would say that having seen what they were quite good at when they played Norwich earlier in the season at Bramall Lane, I thought today we kind of saw why they were going to go up. I thought the stats of the game were quite similar. So I think if anyone didn't see the game, was just going to look through and say, oh, both sides had a shot on target. Oh, that's a bit average. And, what the actual passage of plays and the way the game flowed, I personally thought Sheffield United had so much more control of the game as it went through. I thought they looked more purposeful in knowing what they were doing and how to make it effective. It was obviously a reasonably narrow game, the score suggested, but I think also the atmosphere in here in the second half suggested that no one really felt Norwich were going to draw level, or even seemed that fussed, if I'm honest. We had the odd scrap, the odd bit of competitive edge, a few bookings. Max Aarons went over the top of the hoardings when he was scrapping with George Baldock, and everyone then joined in for a bit of a scrap, but got the impression that actually most kind of thought that was funny afterwards in terms of the players. So there was always that bit of needle around. And in terms of the actual football and quality, I thought Sheffield United looked by far the better side. And it's interesting because earlier in the season, I was sort of thinking, this Norwich team, there's no reason why they shouldn't be the top two. They've got these players, they're good enough. And now they just look such an average Championship side. They really do. And as I said, they've not won in 4. They've not scored in 3 of those 4 since the win at Millwall, which I know everyone was very excited about, and I thought it was a hugely impressive result. But, and I think I may have said this before, the mitigation of why Millwall in that game ran out of steam a bit, the dynamics of that game kind of come to fruition in terms of it being more about that than the sudden clicking of Norwich into gear. And it was curious, really. Biggest crowd of the season in here today, 26,800, so pretty much 27,000. Yet lots of empty seats by the end. And again, it was only 1-0, but that probably was as much to do with Marquinhos, who wasn't exactly a heavily involved figure in the game. Did actually get Norwich's shot on target in the second minute of injury time from outside the box that Wes Foderingham did well to get down low and hold on to. So maybe that in itself was why people had sort of left, didn't really see a team scoring, and therefore weren't particularly keen to hang around and see it play out. The goal was scored by James McAtee. There was a question mark over offside. The initial view of the TV cameras and everything made it look like McAtee was well offside. The pass from Ndai does flick off. I think it flicks off Ben Gibson. Don't think that really matters because unless Gibson was playing the ball deliberately, which he wasn't, that doesn't alter the offside. The offside is taken from when the pass is played. But then there are views from side on where it looks certainly level enough to know that the linesman or assistant referee was making a accurate call. Whereas from the initial replay, with the initial view and the initial camera angle, McAtee looked miles offside, but he wasn't. And ultimately, that's all by the by because I think they deserved They deserve their lead, and Sheffield United deserve to win. So no real complaints. And I don't really think there's much more to say. I have to be honest. There were some really average performances. No one grabs you and go to think, wow, they were good. But Max Aarons carried the ball well and looked involved, but I still think Max doesn't do enough with the ball when he has it. He's good at progressing it, but what is the end product of that? You could argue he maybe should have had a penalty, but I didn't think there was enough contact for it to actually be a penalty. I didn't feel that there was enough there, so I thought it was the right decision to wave play on. Abu Kamara made his debut, which was which was great for him, and it's really good to see that happening. Obviously, academy graduate getting a first team or a senior debut. That doesn't necessarily. I mean, he's obviously earned it in terms of pushing it, but you can't really expect too much of him. And I think that's fair. I found it interesting that Jolis came off, that Tim Pukki came off, and you just wonder at what point attention will start switching to what the team looks like for next season and what the bigger picture is. Norwich are still definitely mathematically in with a shot at the playoffs. You look at the table and go, wow, it's still well in there. And I think David Wagner is really trying to get that feeling going because he knows how important that can be. I just don't know if everyone's got it in them. I just don't know. So yeah, there we are. Latest instalment. And that's it, really. I honestly can't think of anything else to say. It was what it was. Fair play to Sheffield United. Good luck to win in the Premier League when they get there and when that gets confirmed, because I'm sure it will do. Burnley are obviously up and almost there. And Norwich can only get 78 points maximum, I think, now this season. There are only 7 games left. I think I've got that right. Blackburn away on Good Friday. Rotherham here, then on Easter Monday. Then there is the trip to Middlesbrough on the following Friday. Then Norwich are at Queen's Park Rangers at Loftus Road. Before, I think I'll get this right, hosting Swansea, heading to West Brom, who could still quite easily finish above Norwich. And then rounding up the season here against Blackpool, Mick McAtee's Blackpool. So that's the rest of the season. Public service announcements. I am actually off for the Easter holidays. I will not be in the country. I will be with my family. So apologies for that. Letting you down massively, obviously, but it is a holiday that got cancelled in 2020 due to the world stopping. So we're going to go and have another go at doing it now. So rather than missing a relegation-threatened Easter, I will be missing a championship mediocrity, possibly pushing for the playoffs Easter. So I will not be around for the foreseeable, but I will be back for the game at Loftus Road against Queen's Park Rangers. So I look forward to seeing you then. There will be an On The Ball podcast on Monday, ably hosted by Mr. Steve Sanders and guests. So that'll be grand. I'll make sure that's all set up. Keep an eye out for that. Check in at The Athletic, obviously, because there's loads of stuff on there. And a really nice piece I did on the 92-93 season, because I loved writing and putting together. And those were good times. This has not been a good season. It could yet have a happy ending, but if I was to put odds on it, I don't think you'd want to hear what they were or what they are. So instead, I will leave you with the view of the greatest football cathedral in Norfolk. I wish you all a very happy Easter in advance, and I'll see you on the other side. In the meantime, take care of yourselves, have fun, and goodbye. Oh, hang on. I've gone too soon there. But yes, what I mean to say is goodbye.